Bitches love the gram.
Oh, wait, shit.
Hi guys, this is Crisanta M. Dominguez. And this is my third vlog for my final reflections. And for my first reflection in finals, the title is The Role of Islam in the History of the Filipino People. So here, in this topic, it was discussed all about the Muslim. Ang ilang first arrival diri sa ato ang bansa. And the Islam is the oldest recorded monotheistic religion in the Philippines. In this discussion, it was discussed chronologically in 3 stages ang pag-abot sa Islam o ang ilahang ang pagbawas nila na ang uban na Islam is na nag-transfer sa uban na mga relihiyon. And then, so meron man ato ang gigamit dari mode. And when ako feeling is, I felt great that Muslims is one of the religions here in our country, which is the Philippines. It was great that they have 500 years political history, so far the longest political experience compared to other groups in the whole Philippines. Even though that the Muslims population today is not that numerous compared from the past, but still they still hold a great impact in our country as they are part of our history. Isa sila sa nagbuo sa history sa Pilipinas. And for the second one, history of terrorism in the Philippines. So dari nabuo ang mga komunista, which is the Communist CPP, Communist Party of the Philippines, and the NPA. And yet the other terrorism is that the Muslim secessionists. Mao ni sila ang mga MNLF and the MILF. So, ang MNLF o ang MILF, these were the group of people that wants the region or group to be independent of the country or bigger group to which it belongs. So, diri nabuo ang mga terorista na time. Diri gidiscuss ang mga terrorism sa Pilipinas. And I felt sad that even though ang isa ka country na dili jud malikayan nga na ay di nila magustuhan ang pagpadagan sa gobyerno sa isang country. So mao na nabuo ang mga terorismo na mga grupo. So for the third one, the agreement on peace between the government of the Philippines and the More Islamic Liberation Front. So earlier nag-talk ta about sa terrorism sa Pilipinas. And then in this discussion, it talks about the peace between the government and the mga Moro Islamic liberation. So after reading this discussion and lesson, I felt proud that our fellow countrymen still chooses to have unity even though some of us have different beliefs on a certain thing. So di man gid maiwasan nga lahi-lahi tag pagtuo. And as far as I can observe, this peace agreement was successful because there has been no critical happenings as of the moment in Mindanao. Though we are not certain on how long this peace agreement to be implemented, but still, we need to trust our fellow countrymen and also the government. Kaya diba ang terrorismo is isa na siya sa issue sa Pilipinas, pinakadakong issue sa Pilipinas. And for the fourth one, it talks about the report of the cholera epidemic in the Philippines. So, there it talks about a certain na nikalat na epidemya sa Pilipinas. Katong, there nag-abot ang tagutom and such. And then, katong tagutom, after sa tagutom, ni-struck ang kaning cholera, which is the epidemic. Tungod ang cause aning cholera is because the poor water and sanitation. So ang mostly affected diri gidiscuss diri is ang mga tao na kanang wala kaayo proper sanitation good, especially katong mga sa poor area. And then tungod aning cholera nga epidemic nang namatay is a total of 109,461. And knowing all of this, it makes me sad for the people that are highly affected, especially the unfortunate ones, and disappointed to those appointed officials during that time. Kaya wala magod sila naghimog plano beforehand. And then the next one will be the next discussion will be the little Tokyo of the pre-war Philippines. So kaning Mintal is barangay ni siya sa Davao City. So gitawag ni siya the little Tokyo of the pre-war Philippines is because kanay man jud na barangay is very kuan kay siya kanang bongga kaayo siya. It's because tungod kang Otakyo Zaboro. Kung tungod kang Otakyo Zaboro, ang economic growth and prosperity sa Davao is ming taas. And then kanis the Otakyo Zaboro mo na siya marag naghiwag mga companies, mga monuments and buildings dito. Pero after sa World War II, mato nangaguba ang mga ang gipanghimo nila dito. And then kato na panghitabo is na limtan na sa mga taga Davaoenyo. Nalimtan na nila karon. Which is very sad because sayang punto na information manggod kay murag wala na treasure good. Kay importante manggod siya kay kato na time ning bongga ang ilahang lugar. And the next one will be the Bataan has fallen. So during this topic, it mainly talks about the life and struggles of Filipinos during the Japanese occupation. And in this reading, specifically, it was all about the surrender declaration of the Filipino and American soldiers against the Japanese forces during World War II, or the Bataan has fallen, was radio relayed from inside Malinta Tunnel on April 9, 1942. So there anisoko na ang Filipino and American soldier sa war. It is because bisan pag naa sila unconquerable fate sa ilang heart, dili kinahanglan nila sacrifice ilang life furthermore. It's because importante magyapon nilang life unya marag na looy na sila there at a time. And the next one will be the Republic Act number 1400. And this reading talks about the details of the Republic Act number 1400, also known as the Land Act of 1955. This law was made during the Magsaysay administration because the former president of the Third Republic states that agriculture would be a priority of his administration. Due to this law, this created the Land Tenure Administration, or the LTA, which has the following functions. The first one will be to make studies on the land tenure problems throughout the Philippines and prepare overall long-range plans to solve the problems. And the second one will be to initiate immediate investigation in areas reporting land tenure difficulties and recommend appropriate action. And the third one, or the last one, will be prepare a plan for the systematic opening of virgin lands of the public domain for distribution to tenants. Furthermore, ang advantage sa land reform is that it may improve tenure security and therefore incentives. It also may restructure inheritance in favor of children, and it may bring land into the market, allowing for land transactions. So, ang ika-28 or ika-8 na reflection for the finals would be 1973 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. So, in this reading, it discussed about the 1973 Constitution of the Philippines. Of course, that was made during former President Ferdinand Marcos administration. The 1973 Constitution consisted of a preamble and 17 articles. The 1973 Constitution was notable in that it transitioned from a presidential to a parliamentary form of government with a unicameral National Assembly, or the Batasang Pambansa, that replaced the bicameral legislature established under the 1935 Constitution. So the President as head of state and chief executive, and the Prime Minister to be elected by the Assembly. And moreover, having a constitution is great because the purpose of it is to limit the power of the government such that the rights of the citizens are protected from government abuse. Having this limit, of course, the citizens in every country is protected from these government officials that will abuse their power in a wrong way. And the next reflection in finance would be the inaugural address of His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte, President of the Philippines. So in this reading, it talks about the inaugural address of Mr. President Roa Duterte. Gitalk dari ang background ni Duterte before he became the president or the president of the Philippines. And also he identified these fundamental issues as mere symptoms of virulent social cancer that penetrates and drips through the more fiber of Philippine society and urged that they must be addressed urgently. So these fundamental issues is as follows. According to Digong, these are the crime, corruption, and proliferation of illegal drugs. So furthermore, as far as I can observe in the Duterte's administration, the issues that had been mentioned has been lessened. It is because I can say that during his time as the president of the Philippines, these crimes has lessened. The addict or the drug addict had been caught. Also, unlike before his administration, you can see that there were so many addict or what we call the tambay in all places of the country. Makita gid nato ang kabaguhan before and during sa term ni President Roa Duterte. And apart from these issues, there were so many good deeds that Mr. President Roa Duterte have done. Even though during his time was the hardest time, he still managed to lead us rightfully. So the last reflection in finance would be the hanging coffins of Sagada. So kaning hanging coffins of Sagada kay naani siya sa nalokit na siya sa Cordillera. And of course, our ancestors have different unique and different way of burying the dead. Lahi sila og way dati kumpara karon. Isa na diri kaning hanging coffins of Sagada. This type of burial is very unique as the coffins of the dead were hung off the side of a cliff. This type of ancient burial ritual was practiced by the Igorot people sa Sagada. Also, this ritual was practiced in the remote village of Sagada that is nestled in the Cordillera, central mountains of northern Luzon, the Philippines' largest and most populated island. So moreover, naagi reason ng tanang butang. So the reason that the coffins were hanged was due to the belief that the higher the dead were placed, the greater chance of their spirits reaching a higher nature in the afterlife. And after knowing this information, I am amazed by our ancestors that they were able to adapt this kind of ritual. Unique yun nilang mind. So in conclusion, I can say that our ancestors have a great mind for doing this, and also I felt proud because the hanging coffins is famous as it is very unique, which is why there are many tourists that visit the place. So that's all. That would be all for the reflections, for my reflections in final. Before I end this vlog, I just want to leave a certain quote or saying from Mr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was said that we are not makers of history, we are made by history. So that's all. Hope you learned something from this video, and thank you. Bye bye.